You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. All right, now, the great Steve Bannon is on trial for contempt of Congress from this January kangaroo committee. It's just stupid. I don't understand why and how they are prosecuting in federal court Steve Bannon for contempt of Congress for not showing up to testify when he just said last week he'll testify and they won't whatever. But anyway, while the Bannon trial continues, the prosecution rested, but it goes on. While the Bannon trial continues, Jack Posobiec is filling in for Steve Bannon on the War Room. And, Jack Posobiec, first time I heard of Jack Posobiec, you introduced me to Jack Posobiec. Now, Jack Posobiec and I have a mutual friend, Laura Loomer, right? Laura Loomer is a friend of mine, and she's a friend with Jack Posobiec. And before Jack Posobiec became super famous, I heard of him before Loomer, and who's, by the way, Laura Loomer is running for Congress in Central Florida. And one of our Patreon supporters, Chuck, was at an event recently and met her, and he said he name dropped me to her. So that's good. You can always name drop me. Hopefully they'll know who I am. Yeah, she knows. But anyway, two things about Jack Posobiec. He's doing a very good job, by the way, filling in for Steve Bannon. I've been following his program this week. He's doing very, very good.
Does he has a podcast, right?
He does a podcast, and he does all kinds of things. But anyway, he was on Periscope.
Yeah.
And he wasn't famous. And remember, I used to be on Periscope, which no longer exists. That's when I first started live streaming on the radio. And Jack Posobiec would be on Periscope like these long, it seemed like 6 to 12-hour stretches overnights, just like sitting in a room, sometimes with his head down on the table, looked like he was sleeping. Remember that?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't really watch him as much as you, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm like, who is this guy? And he had this massive following. I couldn't even say his name right, Posobiec. I didn't know how to say his name. I can't remember what I used to say it as. I mispronounced it. And he was just he was sloppier than Steve Bannon, and he was just like sitting in his room. I'm like, who is this guy? And then the second time I saw him on Periscope, and I used to watch him on Periscope, and I was, he's always been interesting, but he was a little strange. And then you may remember when the liberals put on that Julius Caesar play with Trump being Julius Caesar in New York City.
That was awful.
And remember when Laura Loomer ran up on stage and grabbed the knife from Brutus and she got in trouble?
Yes,
remember that?
That was hilarious.
Jack Posobiec was with her and filmed that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I remember that.
Jack Posobiec was with her and made the video on his cell phone and got it online and made it viral. And
but we're the hateful group.
Yeah, I know. They do in the Brutus.
They simulate a president being killed.
Yeah, so Jack Posobiec, he's all right. I like Jack Posobiec, and we have some other mutual friends too, including Peter Navarro, who I interviewed yesterday. So anyway, he's filling in all week long while Bannon's on trial for this kangaroo January 6th committee stuff. And he had on Kari Lake today, and I was talking on the radio yesterday. Mike Pence is a Judas snake. He's not the snake, because there's a lot of snakes, but he's one of the snakes that President Trump reads the poem about.
You called McCarthy the Judas of Mar-a-Lago.
Yes.
Let's call Pence the Judas of D.C.
The Judas of D.C.?
The D.C. Judas.
Yeah, we got a lot of Judases around Trump, man. A lot of
D.C.
Judases.
Judas. I like that.
But, what Pence is doing is pretty scummy. And I'm going to pat myself on the back again.
I was going to just say again.
Because someone's got to do it. But
I sure as hell don't.
Prior to COVID, I always said from day one on this program.
True. This is true.
I do not trust Mike Pence.
We used to argue about it.
And people would give me a hard time. Yeah. And I talked about it on this podcast. I talked about it on the radio.
It's true.
And I said the reason I don't trust Mike Pence is he's too polished. I don't know what his real personality is. Now we know, right? Jerk, snake, liar, traitor, Judas. And during COVID, I had a little bit of a change of heart because President Trump put him in charge of the COVID response team, and he seemed to have been doing okay with that, and then everything happened. And now what he's doing now, in my opinion, is not just a betrayal of MAGA, of President Trump, and of all the Republicans and all of us. I believe it borderlines on criminal activity and what he's doing. And let me tell you what he is doing, and then I've got this thing with Jack Posobiec that relates to what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Mike Pence has endorsed the Republican who is running against Kari Lake in the primary in Arizona. He is having a rally for the opponent of Kari Lake in Arizona.
Where are they airing this rally?
Oh, I'm sure this one will be on Fox and CNN. They'll probably run this everywhere.
Good luck with that.
And it'll probably be as well attended as a Biden rally. And I can't imagine. But what Pence is doing, he's also running for president, right? I mean, this is ridiculous. This guy couldn't get elected dog catcher. And because you guys know, I don't have to tell you. We all know, we're all on the same page about Pence. What Pence is doing right now, he is working for the Republican never Trumper establishment, and his profession is screwing Trump. Mm-hmm. And what you've seen on occasion, or maybe you haven't, but you see it sometimes announced, Mike Pence is speaking here, he's speaking there, he's speaking to this group. Who would go to listen to Mike Pence speak? You know, who would do this?
Maybe Karen Pence.
I don't know, maybe she's even ticked off at him, his wife. But here's what Pence is doing. He's got a whole financial scam going on, okay? When he speaks at these events, he gets paid. And this is how they pay him off. It's legal. And it's just how the Clintons operated, okay? Yeah. Bill Clinton is the model that the Pence people are using to undermine Trump and MAGA. And if you remember, when Bill Clinton first left office, he went on this speaking tour worldwide. Sometimes it would be in a foreign country. Sometimes it'd be a corporate event in America. And he was being paid over $200,000 to speak. And you would listen to Rush, and all of us would say, what is Bill Clinton saying in 25, 30 minutes or an hour that's worth $250,000? Well, what we found out was that's how they gave the bribe money to the Clintons. Right. For all the favors that Hillary was doing in the Senate and later as Secretary of State.
That's right.
Was through the speakers and then later the Clinton Foundation. That's what Pence is doing, right? He's got this fake presidential campaign. He's got these events and speaking arrangements, and they pay him it's all legal, but what he's really doing is trying to screw Trump. So anyway, Jack Posobiec had the great Kari Lake on today. And she talked about, he asked her about Pence. He mentions the vice president here. And when he says the vice president, he means Pence, not Willie Brown's girlfriend, Kamala Harris. And so the vice president they're referencing is Pence. And I think Kari Lake, as always, is spot on and tells it like it is. Listen.
The vice president's coming in. He's going to be doing competing rallies now, I believe, is potentially in the cards. What's going on in Arizona with all of this, and can you respond to this latest endorsement?
Oh, Arizona is the battleground. I mean, right now it is MAGA versus the swamp. And I think we know what side the American people are on. The swamp creatures are taking their last gasp of breath and trying to hold on for dear life, but they're going to get flushed away in this election. And, you know, we're seeing it. They're starting to talk a big game. Obviously, MSNBC doesn't understand the world of MAGA and America First politics, which is the only way, frankly, out of the mess that the swamp got us into. And they're thinking that rolling out somebody like Doug Ducey or Mike Pence will do the job. I mean, these guys are the laughing stock, frankly, of politics right now. The people have turned on them because they turned on the people.
Yeah, that is right on the money.
That's right. And she's got a great way with words, I have to say.
Well, yeah, and she's polished, but she's real and natural, unlike Pence, who's polished in a way to hide his true self.
Yeah. No, she's very polished. She's she probably majored in communications. She's
been on TV forever.
She's a great communicator. She uses great analogies. I like the whole thing of the swamp creatures, last gasp for breath.
Oh, it's great.
That's a good analogy, and how they're being desperate, and the swamp against MAGA, very, very true. I don't know what Mike Pence is thinking. I don't think he feels he's effective at all. But
I think Mike Pence was always working against President Trump. I think he was
obviously
a source of a lot of leaks and other problems. Remember, President, usually vice presidents are like Kamala. They do nothing and they have no contact really with the president. And President Trump had Mike Pence in on every meeting for the entire first term.
Yeah.
Every meeting. So he knew, and by the
He
way,
was CNN's anonymous source.
the meetings that the aides don't get to go to, the classified meetings, the private meetings, the personal meetings, the ones that like even McEnany didn't get to go to. So Pence had all the information, and I think Pence was the source of a lot of trouble that we've gone under. Because look, it's one thing for Pence to do what he did. But this idea that he has a dual rally and endorsing the opponents of Trump endorsed candidates and having these dual rallies, is that Christian-like?
No, it seems very vindictive.
Vindictive, petty, and corrupt.
When is the primary for?
They're next month, August.
August. So
there's a lot of primaries.
A lot of primaries in August.
A lot of primaries
in August. Going to be a big month, and I don't worry about Kari, but you never want to rest on your laurels like Marco Rubio is right now, and take a back seat. You don't want to underestimate these people.
No, you don't.
And you want to fight to the end. Like, remember when Trump, now, of course, when he was running, all the polls said Hillary would win. But even if it had him ahead, I really feel he would have done that midnight rally in Michigan because the guy's a fighter and he's a workhorse and he doesn't take anything for granted. I think if he ever admitted one mistake he made, I think, and I truly believe this, he would say that he trusted the wrong people.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. I remember when he brought in Bill Barr, and I said to you, why is he bringing in this guy? He worked for Bush.
Yep.
I don't understand. And I think he really was too trusting of D.C. because you remember he was friends with a lot of these people. He had donated to them. They'd gone to his wedding, and he hung out with these people. He thought they were his friend, and I think it was really hard for him to accept that they were not his friend. Once he got into that ring of politics, they turned on him. They all turned on him. They were his friend because he was giving him money.
Well,
that's how it is.
He's got us.
These people have no soul.
We're
they
his
have
friend.
no loyalty.
We are his friend. Now,
that's exactly right.
I want to play this clip. This is Biden yesterday. Yesterday, Biden had cancer. Listen.
Off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
Okay, so he says he has cancer.
Maybe he does.
And today we find out he's got COVID. Here's Jill.
He's having a bad week.
My husband tested positive for COVID. I talked to him just a few minutes ago. He's doing fine. He's feeling good. I tested negative this morning. I am going to keep my schedule. I am, according to CDC guidelines, I am keeping masks.
Okay, so Biden has COVID. They say mild symptoms, but they won't let us see them. I don't know.
We'll find out.
When Biden is frail. He's feeble. He's frail. Feeble and frail might be the same thing. I don't know, but he's feeble and frail and old as the hills. And you put that together. There is no such thing as minor. Like Kathy with Kathy's illness. When if I have a sniffle. If I have a fever, God forbid, or I'm not around Kathy. I'm on the couch.
She's on the couch
because a cold not only has put Kathy in the hospital. You've been in the hospital. You've gotten colds from people, and you've ended up in the hospital. Sometimes for a long time because they're pretty serious with you. So when you are as weak, frail, and as feeble as Joe Biden, there's no such thing as a minor anything, especially COVID.
It's interesting because I haven't watched the news, the liberal news, I'd like to know how they're reacting to this news as opposed to when Trump had it. Because when Trump had it,
they were wishing the worst.
Well, I know that, but the
appalling.
way they were presenting it to the people, they were speculating that he had oxygen under his jacket. Remember, it took a while to get him out to the helicopter, and they were speculating on his oxygen levels for days, and then Ronnie Jackson came out, or the doctor that treated him. Remember, they tried to destroy his career. The doctor in the hospital, because they said that he lied about his oxygen levels and all this. Remember, they totally tried to ruin his career and all this stuff. Are they giving Biden's doctors the same scrutiny? Do we even know who his doctors are?
We don't even know who his doctors are.
It's outrageous.
And I'll tell you, when President Trump had COVID. That was,
I remember when that happened.
That was awful. And
you were visibly
I thought we were in trouble.
Upset. The look on your face, you were really, really worried for about 24 hours there.
Well, what worried me wasn't that he had COVID at first, but when they flew him out on Marine One from the White House to the hospital, I didn't think he was going to make it because I'm like, if they doing that, that's serious. That's pretty serious. They don't normally do that. And I made a YouTube video the day Donald Trump made me cry. If you go and look that up, Brian Craig, the day Trump made me cry, I this sounds so ridiculous. It sounds
but you
stupid.
did have tears in your eyes.
But this is
really
true.
worried.
I was really upset. I went to Walt Disney World to the Hall of Presidents to watch President Trump's robot speak at the Hall of Presidents, and I made a YouTube video about it, and I talked about this was before he did the drive-by, letting us know he was okay. And if you remember, when President Trump did the drive-by in front of the hospital, the media were angry. They were attacking him, that he was going to infect the Secret Service and all this stuff. And the media, while he was in the hospital, President Trump, they were just saying terrible things. They were wishing that it got worse.
Pretty much.
And I noticed, we talked about this on the show, when President Trump got out of the hospital with COVID, his tone towards the media changed, because he was sitting in there in the hospital,
absolutely
watching
changed.
How they were praying for the worst and hoping for the worst and doing a lot of wishful thinking. And he was so angry, I could tell, at the media.
I remember saying to you when that was over, I said, "There's been a shift in Trump." I said before, it seemed like he was in this constant battle with them, with trying to get them to give him good publicity, good press. And I remember saying to you, he's wasting his time. He needs to put his energy into something else, because the media is never going to give him a break.
Never.
And I think when that happened, there was a change in his tone where it was almost like he finally understood. He finally got it.
Yeah.
These people are never, ever going to be his friend or be friendly towards him. And I think it was a wake-up call to him when he was sitting in the hospital bed watching TV. And he probably thought to himself, these people want me dead. I think it really just hit him in that moment. Something we've known all along.
It was disgusting.
Yeah, it was disgusting. And I guess the play in the park with Julius Caesar wasn't enough. It's like it finally occurred to him how much they hate him.
Yeah.
And I think he became at that moment, very disconnected from the press and finally ended his codependency on them.
Yeah.
Because they had a very codependent relationship up to that point. They still are codependent on him, but I feel he severed that with them, and he no longer had a codependency with the media.
No, I
really
agree.
think that was a turning point for him.
I agree. It was a big change. I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And we have new Patreon supporters that have joined us recently, and that's wonderful and welcome. And those of you that are new to becoming a Patreon supporter, visit the Patreon page often. I upload each and every podcast episode commercial-free to the Patreon page. It's on the postings there. And Patreon, the page itself, the way I describe it, it's similar in look and format to Facebook. So I post things, I should say, and Kathy does too, on the main page there, including every episode of the podcast commercial free. And so make sure you check back on that Patreon page often. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you on each and every podcast episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck's who meant Loomer, D, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Rich, and Lay Paul. These are our top Patreon supporters. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this and every episode. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
It's good to be proud of our kids and for them to feel pride in themselves. However, pride unchecked can also lead to negative behaviors. The book Pride from author Gina Chandler allows children to be shown how pride can influence inappropriate behavior when it's allowed to get the best of us. It also showcases the negative effects that bullying and taunting causes. Pride can help parents investigate their children's world and gives an opportunity to slow the pace down and capture real-life situations that can be capitalized on. With this must-read book, we can reach them and teach them. Pride from author Gina Chandler is also perfect for teachers for classroom reading. Order your copy right now on Amazon. The world is as challenging as it is fascinating. And if our children are going to survive and thrive, there'll be a lot of things they'll need to learn. The Etsy shop, ELR Shop, sell educational items for kids that will inspire and educate. They have digital coloring books, puzzles, grammar practice sheets, alphabet workbooks, and much, much more. They're perfect for parents, teachers, and homeschoolers. ELR Shop on Etsy also have lots of digital items that you can download and use right away. Watch the wheels in their minds turn as they face new challenges and puzzles. They also offer affirmation cards as well as greeting cards to inspire the adults that are having a positive impact on children. Find them on Etsy. Just search ELR Shop. That's all one word. ELR Shop on Etsy. Every day is a season of life.
See this guy with the pillows on Fox? My pillow guy, Mike Lindell. Where is Mike? He is the greatest. First of all, he does make a great product, great pillows. I actually use them, believe it or not. He's been a supporter from day one. The My Pillow guy, thank you. And he's been with us right from the beginning.
As always, President Trump is right. The My Pillow is so good, even President Trump sleeps on one. Support Mike Lindell, President Trump, and the Steve Kane Show at the same time. Go to mypillow.com and use the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout for huge savings on My Pillow products. Promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at mypillow.com.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. I am drinking what is becoming Biden's America, a very expensive drink. I have a can of Coke.
Yes, in fact, Brian will leave half cans around the house, and I take them to him, and I make him finish because a 12-pack is over $8 now, which is absolutely insanity. It was
cheaper.
It was $4 when Trump was in office, and it's water and a little bit of syrup. I know the canning and stuff. How much is an aluminum can? I mean, that's just ridiculous. But we're paying for the gas to transport everything. It's crazy. It's the transportation of the goods that we are paying for because diesel gas is so freaking expensive right now.
Oh, I want to mention something because I just got a text message a little while ago from Ian, our travel agent, who handles all of our Steve Kane MAGA cruises. And, we have a listener cruise at the end of January, 7 days on the Celebrity Apex. We're going to Tortola, which is the British Virgin Islands, Curacao, and San Juan, Puerto Rico on the Celebrity Apex, which is a luxury cruise ship. And a couple things, okay? Someone asked me, do we have like a bargain price, because of our group? And yes, if you join our group, you will be paying less than anyone else on the ship.
Yeah.
We have,
like a group rate.
Well, what had happened was, when COVID, this is our first cruise since COVID, right? We do these every year. This is our fourth. And we didn't do the one last year because the COVID and all that. When COVID hit, we set this cruise up and we got like panicked COVID prices for our group. So we're really low. But anyway, just real quick, I won't talk about it too much. But Ian told me that they have not adjusted the prices for the price of fuel, which they will do before we go. So if you call, I'm going to give you the number. If you call Ian at Cruise and Travel Depot and just make your reservation, you don't have to pay for the whole thing yet. Just make your reservation. You'll be locked in not just for our very, very low price, but they have not upped the price on the cruises for the increased fuel costs, which are like how much they run on diesel.
I wonder how big those tanks are.
I don't know. Big as some ships probably, but they run on diesel. And I didn't even think about it. I was talking to him today about gas prices, and he mentioned, I was like, well, I got to tell people. So you really will enjoy the cruise, guys, if you go. It's a lot of fun.
And our daughter is going, and my mother
Kathy's
is going
mother.
to get to meet my mom. I cannot go because I have too many medical issues, including vertigo, to go on a boat. I wish I could, but my daughter will be there. You get to meet Emily and my mom, Joanne, and her husband. So my mom is a lot of fun. You'll have a good time.
Yeah. So call Ian. I'm going to give you the phone number. And if you just make your reservation and just put a deposit down, you'll lock in the current price structure, which has not been increased yet.
That's a great deal.
You know how much diesel fuel is. So let me give out the number.
Yeah.
And I'll probably be talking about this on the radio too tomorrow. And maybe the rest of the week. And I don't want people that think it's gimmicky, because I don't do gimmicky promotions for stuff. I was really shocked when he told me that today, and that could change at any time. So this is Ian's number, Cruise and Travel Depot, and he'll answer all your questions. 561-244-5779. 561-244-5779. Okay, I just wanted to. I'm not going to play the audio of this because I think it's really. But I do want to mention this thing about David Hogg in the House yesterday.
Ugh, do we have to talk about him?
Yeah, and the Gateway Pundit, they just made a point about if you not know, there was a congressional hearing yesterday, and David Hogg stood up and started
pulled some
ranting.
Stupid stunt.
And listen,
to go viral for 5 minutes.
This is what the headline says. They call him an insurrectionist in the Gateway Pundit. And they make a good point. Listen to this. Insurrectionist David Hogg storms U.S. House proceeding, screams at lawmakers. Congressman Andy Biggs responds, quote, Democrats have said if you interrupt a proceeding, that is the definition of insurrection.
There you go.
That makes David Hogg an insurrectionist.
So is he going to be arrested?
No. Let me tell you, though.
Very good point. I mean, how is he different than the shaman? The shaman wasn't screaming at anybody. Yeah. That's the difference.
Yeah, the Viking. I call him the Viking. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
he looks like
everybody knows.
Like
yeah, there's no the difference is the shaman didn't scream at anyone. He just walked with a smile on his face.
The thing about David Hogg, we haven't talked about any of the people from Parkland in a while, but I'll just mention this. He goes to Harvard, and I was reading an interview with him recently in a liberal newspaper. I can't remember which one, or it may have been a liberal magazine. On the Apple News. Mm-hmm. And he's at Harvard, and he is studying one of the classes he has is the history of right-wing movements.
That's where they do all the brainwashing.
Yeah, the history of right-wing movements. And I imagine in that class, I would love to have the textbook and the syllabus of that class.
Yeah. It's Operation Research.
I promise you.
Whatever they call it.
When they study the history, and I'm not being funny here, this is serious. At Harvard, when they have a class studying the history of right-wing movements, these are the movements: MAGA, Republicans as a whole, Genghis Khan, the Nazis, all the Napoleon. These are the Klan.
Which is not true. None of those socialist, democratic movements.
No, exactly. Except MAGA. Except MAGA. But that's what's going on. And David Hogg is he's being groomed to be a very important person. And they plan on him being in Congress, in the House, or the Senate. He is being groomed for big stuff. And he's a young man now. He's still in college. But we're going to be hearing about him just like AOC for the rest of our lives. And I don't know what exactly he's going to end up doing, but
God help the country. As long as he's not my rep. He'll never go beyond being House representative. He's too unlikable.
If he ran,
I can't see him going past that.
If he ran, if his parents still live here in Parkland and he runs in that area, he would be our congressman if he won.
Oh God!
Could you imagine?
Help us,
David Hogg.
I didn't think about that. You're right. His house is probably 15 minutes from.
Yeah,
our
we
house.
live. Yeah. So
Gracious.
Listen. I understand that kids that are in a school where there's a mass shooting, it's pretty brutal. And I made a YouTube video that I have not made public, only to members on the YouTube channel, and I did show it to our Patreon supporters. But I don't think I'm ever going to make it public. I was talking the other day where I went to Marjorie Stoneman and I went to the root of, and I haven't made it public because it's disturbing to me, and I wasn't even there. So I don't spend time attacking anyone that went to Parkland. That is a horrific thing that happened. However, just because you're part of a terrible thing that happened to you or people around you doesn't mean you have a free pass on life where you can say and do whatever you want and we're not going to respond to it. And that's the way. I mean, I've had calls on the air over the years from Holocaust survivors, and I'll tell them, well, I'm really sorry. But just because you're a survivor of the Holocaust doesn't mean you're going to, be able to bash me or bash Republicans without me responding.
Right.
I respect you and the tragedy. So, no one is beyond being questioned. I wanted to mention something else too, one topic that I hate to talk about are racial issues, black-white issues. And the reason I don't like talking about them is because, like I was telling you guys on yesterday's show, I believe we're in a post-racial society, but the media and the Democrats keep trying to turn this into a racial divide. And what's going on right now with the Democrats, they've lost so many different special interest groups. There's a lot of gays for Trump. They've lost a lot of blacks, Hispanics. They're doing all these things to try to garner support. And one of them, of course, is racial divide. They want to put black against white, white against black. And Kathy and I saw something on television last night that was so disturbing, this thing on Survivor.
Yeah, we were watching Survivor and the new season.
It's on now.
It is over. They do have a winner.
Don't tell me who the winner is. We're a few weeks behind.
And we're a few weeks behind. But so there was a part in the show where they were at Tribal and they have to vote people off. And they split the teams into two, and the one team didn't know who the other team had voted off. So the second team comes in, the second group, to vote somebody off, and they were going to vote off this black chick, and she knew it, Drea, and she knew that her head was on, as they say, on the chopping block, and that she was done.
They're at the part now where everyone who gets voted off goes to the jury, okay, and the tribe comes in and they find out the first two jury members are black.
I was about to get to that.
Okay.
So they're ready to vote her off, and she looks over at the jury, at the people that were voted off already in the jury, and it's two black people. So I knew this was coming before it happened. I just thought to myself, here we go. And she starts crying because she knows, I think she did this to keep from being voted off, and it worked. She knows they're going to vote her off. So she looks over and she starts crying, and Jeff's like, what's wrong? She says, I look over there, I see two black people voted off, and if they vote me off, I'm going to be the third black person. And, this is a systemic problem on Survivor and in the country, blah, 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 race this, race that, and all this stuff. And then another black girl on her team started crying too. And they're like, you don't understand what it's like. Yeah. It's ridiculous. She pulled the race card. And I wish somebody, and one guy did challenge her, this guy, John, this big guy. He said, you're basically saying that we're all racist because black people happen to be in the jury and were voted off. Oh, no, I'm not saying that. He says, well, what are you saying? And she said, it's just a systemic problem that you're not aware of. Okay, I guess we're stupid. But here's the deal. If a white person is being ready to be voted out and they look over and there's three white people in the jury, you think the white person is going to get all upset and think, oh, man, they're voting off all white people? People just don't think that way. But I guess a lot of minorities do. That's the filter they use, because I hear it over and over and over again when they're being challenged. I don't know if she really feels this way or if she was just pulling the race card. It worked. They didn't vote for her, and they didn't vote for the other black girl. They voted off the white chick. They changed their vote right then and there.
Well, okay.
Because she was crying about it.
Now, let me tell you what
was ridiculous.
What burns me. A lot of things burn me about that. But the main thing that burns me about it is, this girl we're talking about, she's like a millennial. She's never seen nor experienced racism. I know I'm white, but I've seen racism against blacks. Remember I was talking a couple days ago when I was younger, I lived for a couple of years in a town that I used to visit during the summer here in Florida called Okeechobee, Florida. Okeechobee, Florida is a tiny 2-horse town. It's 10 times bigger today than it was when I used to live there and go there during the summers.
That's not saying much.
And it's still a 2-horse town. It's a tiny little place.
Now it's a 3-horse town.
Yeah, they got all excited because there's a Walmart there now. Yeah, it's very exciting.
A lot of towns like that, and we're just joking around.
No, there's
a lot of towns like that in this country. Great,
yeah, but when
small towns,
I used to go there every summer. My grandparents and my father lived there, and I go there every summer when I visited Florida before I lived here. And I lived there for 2 years when I was in 5th and 6th grade.
So this is back in the 70s, early 80s.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And there was, let me tell you something, there was real racism there.
Yeah.
and I saw this. I've never seen anything like this before, because you got to keep in mind, I'm talking about from 78 to about 82, and that's only starting 10 years after Martin Luther King died, right? So the thing, when I went to school there, I went to school at an elementary school. It had a name. I don't remember the name, but it had a name. Everyone in town called it the colored high school because it was the black high school during segregation.
This is back when they used the word colored.
Even teachers in the school called it the colored high school, okay?
That's what people,
I couldn't believe, and they're teaching at the school. And it was for 5th and 6th graders. It was called the 5th and 6th grade center, and they called it the colored high school. I couldn't believe, even teachers.
That's the word they used back then.
Well, this was after then. This was in my time. So also, black people were not allowed to go out after dark. Now, they could go out after dark, but they wouldn't make it home. And I'm not kidding. And if you went to a restaurant, there were no black people in the restaurant. It's still segregation was still the way.
It makes you wonder why the hell they live there.
And let me tell you, it's bad because I came from Ohio. I'd never seen anything like this. I saw people.
It was like Alabama.
I saw people call black people the N-word to their face, and no one even thought anything of it.
People of today, they've redefined what racism is. Now everything's racist.
Well, that's what. Okay, so
that's their filter. Everything is.
So this girl on Survivor, what burns me about it is not that she's playing the race card, I don't like it, but what she's doing trivializes the struggles that are true examples of racism and discrimination that people experienced that she doesn't even know about in textbooks. When I first came to South Florida, which was in the early 80s, and I guess mid-80s, and I had my first job working at Publix, the big grocery store here. I was in 10th grade. When a black family would come into the grocery store shopping, I am not kidding, if a black family came in together, the managers would follow them around the store like they were going to steal something. And I remember one guy, he was the manager of the meat department. And I remember one time he was had one of his eyes around the corner, just one eye around the corner of an aisle watching them to see if they were going to steal anything because they're a black family and you're shopping. And I'd never seen, I was shocked to see this. And that's, a little more 35 years ago. Mm-hmm. So what I see people call racism and discrimination and bigotry today is nothing. It's not. I've seen the real thing, and let me tell you, the real thing is ugly. And I know there are people that me observing it isn't the same as being black and experiencing it. But let me tell you, it's disturbing and scary, those incidents I'm talking about, and it trivializes all that.
But these experiences, like you're talking about, that happened in the 70s
and 80s
and early 80s, are talked about in these families, and there are things that are discussed that we don't talk about in our families because it never happened to us, and they're talked about in the families. They hear the stories from their grandparents, their parents, and that's the place they're coming from. So they think that's how the world still is.
Yeah, it's not
today. But the problem is, so I understand that, but because that's the black experience that has passed down from generation to generation. But they're not acknowledging, and even Bill Maher said this. He said the left are not acknowledging the advances we've made as far as race.
That's right.
And how things are so much better and how people have really tried. I mean, you have interracial marriage and dating. It's not even an issue anymore. But back when I was in middle school and high school, oh man, that would have been a big deal. I never saw interracial couples ever. In fact, our neighbor is black and she was married to a white guy. He passed away, and we were talking to her about it, how bad it was. They got married in the 50s.
It was illegal.
I mean,
it was illegal in Florida.
She's almost 80 now, but man.
Yeah, they got married.
Now it's like nothing.
It was illegal for them to get married.
Yeah, I mean, but still, I'm sure she has discussed this issue with her children, and they come from that filter. So they see it where maybe it doesn't exist, but that's how they see the world. I understand that, but what bothered me the most was I understand they have a different perspective. I can respect that. But what bothered me the most is she basically called everybody in the show a racist, even though the show has a lot of minorities. There's a lot of Hispanics, there's Asian people, there's gays. I mean, it's probably the most diverse cast they've ever had. And Jeff Probst didn't even challenge her on it.
No.
He was like kissing her ass. He was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. And oh, wow, are you hurt? Can I help you? Instead of saying to her, are you saying that everybody here is a bigot? Is that what you're saying? Are they all racist?
And by the way,
he really just did nothing.
The black guy that got voted out that upset her so much was voted out by a Muslim.
Yep. An Asian,
and a gay guy,
a Hispanic,
and the white guy was trying to save him.
Exactly.
But I guess they're already
he was Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican. Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying there's like hardly any white people on this show. Literally, they're all minorities.
This is just the thing. Okay, Brit Hume.
Maybe two.
Yeah, Brit Hume on Fox once said when Obama was president. So I can't remember what the issue was that was going on, but Obama was talking about something involving racial issues.
Yeah.
And Brit Hume had a very smart observation. He says Obama uses race as a weapon or a shield, depending on which benefits his purposes of that day.
That's true.
And that's really what's going on a lot of times. And this thing on Survivor was really disturbing for me to see this. And if I was on that jury, I would have stood up to her.
I know you would have.
I would have stood up to her.
The problem is one guy did. One guy, John, did stand up to her
for a second. Then he backed down.
Then he backed down. He was very offended.
Calling someone a racist is a big deal.
Well, it's just ridiculous that I've never heard people, but now that she has put that out there and said that, that's going to become a thing on Survivor that people are going to use to keep from getting voted off. I think. And I don't know. I just I don't like people assuming that, to me, the definition of racism is, well, there's many, but one of the things is where you prejudge somebody based on the color of their skin, which is what a lot of people accuse white people of doing. Well, that's what she was doing. She was basically, and it wasn't even white people. Like I said, there's Asians, Hispanics. I don't think there's hardly any white people on the cast this year, maybe 3. But she's just saying they're all bigots because 3 black people were getting voted off in a row. And I knew she was going to say something because she looked over at the jury and she got really upset because she knew she was next. But like I said, if a white person was next, and you kind of know when you're getting voted out sometimes, and they looked over, there's plenty of times there's like 6 white people there in a row. Did you ever see a white person get all upset? They're voting off all the white people.
Listen,
it's crazy.
Here's the thing. Everyone,
feel sorry for it.
Everyone except one person is voted off Survivor. It's just a matter of what order.
Exactly.
So it's ridiculous.
Exactly. It is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Now, I want to tell everyone we started doing something new this week on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig on YouTube. We're taking the radio show and putting it up. The radio show is 3 hours long, and we're putting it up. 2 3 hour the 2 3 hour shows. We're putting them back to back. We're having 6 hour live streams in the evenings from 11 p.m. to 5 p.m. or 5 a.m. 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. I messed it up. Every night from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. 6 hours. It's a rebroadcast of the radio show from the morning before, and it's not. The video that
from the morning of.
Well, part of it is the morning before because at 11 midnight.
It's that day, that day show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess so. It's that morning show.
Today's show we're uploading at 11.
And it's not the video that you see me do on YouTube. It's the actual audio recording. There's images. There's an image. But the studio quality audio recording of the radio show.
Where you hear everything.
Mm-hmm. And we do it on a live premiere every night. So there's a live chat room that goes on during the entire 6 hours. So if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do. Brian Craig on YouTube. Click the notification bells, too. Then you'll get notified when these things get put online. And I know a lot of people are listening to it every night. We just started doing it without any announcing it. And I do appreciate it. It takes a lot of time because it's a big piece of audio. It takes a lot of time, actually, to...
Takes a couple hours
to upload it every day. Yeah, it takes a couple hours every day to do it. Yeah. So, thanks for tuning into it.
Yeah, and also we have our T-shirt shop, which is magamerch.shop, magamerch.shop, and you go there. We have all of our awesome T-shirts, mugs, stickers, totes, kids' clothes, all pretty much MAGA Trump related. And some of the T-shirt designs, like our latest one with the gas, have been ideas given to us by listeners. Brian has put in a lot of ideas. He'll come home. I got a great idea for a T-shirt. Some of them are my ideas, but I've designed every single one of them myself. So that's pretty exciting for me.
MAGAmerch.shop.
MAGAmerch.shop. These are all original designs. And Brian has helped me with some of the design ideas too. Check it out. And the prices are very reasonable. We have a lot of great T-shirts. So go over there and MAGAmerch.shop. It's
all
awesome.
right. Well, listen, we're all out of time for today, but we will be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Attention gamers of all ages, there's a podcast you will want to add to your playlist. So We Gaming. So We Gaming was created for gamers by gamers. This podcast explores many topics from gaming entertainment, food, current events, and much, much more. They enjoy bringing on guests to learn about them. They discuss their favorite games, their passions, as well as helping to promote their brand. So We Gaming is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, your favorite podcast player, and SoWeGaming.com. Add So We Gaming to your playlist right now.